Good morning to all our viewers and thank you for tuning in to Constitution Today. Today we will be looking at the South African Constitution in particular. But before we get into the Constitution, I would like to introduce four guest speakers that I've invited this morning. They are law students as well, and I will be introducing them. To my immediate right is Serena Plaatjes. Next to her is Danitha Kannemeyer. On her right is Portia Theron, and last but not least, Chanel France. Okay, seeing that we're discussing the Constitution today, I thought it fitting that I explain the preamble of the Constitution of South Africa as well. Let me just explain what the preamble is. The preamble is a brief introductory statement that sets out the guiding purposes and principles of the Constitution. Chapter 1 enshrines key constitutional principles, and because they are so important, they are more difficult to change. Okay, so the preamble explained goes as follows. Our Constitution reflects our unique history and our quest for freedom and democracy. Given South Africa's past, it's not surprising that our Constitution frequently stresses the need to create a society that's open and demographic and that emphasizes dignity, justice, and equality. South Africans have realized the unfair raw deal dealt to some citizens and the preferential acts in favor of others in the past. The citizens prize, treasure, and honor the individuals who resisted and fought for justice and freedom for those who were subject to the harsh and authoritarian treatment. It was that resistance and sacrifice that paved the way for the national evolution and reconstruction. The dissimilarity and diversity that first divided the nation now leads the country in unity, and the nation is the rightful home to all its citizens equally. The Constitution also acts as a base that supports the rights and duties of all citizens, the legal foundation for the existence of the Republic, and clarifies the structure of the government. The preamble ends by honoring the country's diversity with words of protection and blessings for the nation in English, Sesotho, Afrikaans, Shona, and Xhosa. So in essence, that is the preamble explained.
So I prepared the diagram for your viewers today to explain the structure of the Constitution. So if we just look at the diagram.
Here you would see a diagram of the Constitution of South Africa. This Constitution of South Africa is the supreme law of the Republic of South Africa. It provides the legal foundation for the existence of the Republic, sets out the rights and duties of its citizens, which will be explained in Chapter 2, the Bill of Rights, and defines the structure of the government, explained in Chapter 4, Parliament, Chapter 7, Local Government, and Chapter 14, General Provisions. The Constitution, or the current Constitution, the country's fifth, was drawn up by Parliament elected in 1994 in the South Africans' general elections. As shown on the diagram, the way in which the layout is structured. Okay, the Constitution opens with the preamble, which Edgar has just explained. Chapters 1, Founding Provisions. Chapter 2, the Bill of Rights, explaining South African citizens' various rights. Chapter 3, Cooperative Government. Chapter 4, Parliament. Chapter 5, the President and National Executive. Chapter 6, Provinces. Chapter 7, Local Government. Chapter 8, Courts and Administration. Chapter 9, State Institutions Supporting Constitutional Democracy. Chapter 10, Public Administration. Chapter 11, Security Services. Chapter 12, Traditional Leaders. Chapter 13, Finance. Chapter 14, General Provisions. This chapter consists of 7 schedules, one of them being explanation of the national flag.
Just to give you a brief explanation as to why the Constitution is important. The Constitution contains the most important rules of our political system. It protects the rights of the people inside the country and it explains their obligations. It defines the institution of South Africa, what their powers are and how they may use their powers. It is most important that each South African knows their constitution. So thank you, Edgar.
Thank you, Zarina, for that lovely diagram of the structure of the Constitution. Next, I'll be asking Portia and Donitha to explain to us Chapter 2 of the Bill of Rights.
Okay, Edgar. The Bill of Rights is a cornerstone of democracy in South Africa. It affirms a democratic values of human dignity, equality and freedom. The Bill of Rights in Chapter 2 of the Constitution consists of an important set of human rights that aims to define the rights of the people, provide to whom and how the right applies, and regulate when and how the rights may be limited.
Combines the legislature, the executive, the judiciary and all organs of the state. A provision of the Bill of Rights binds a natural or juristic person if and to the extent that it is applicable, taking into account the nature of the right and the nature of any duty imposed by the right. The juristic person is entitled to the rights in the Bill of Rights to the extent required by the nature of the rights and the nature of that juristic person.
The Bill of Rights consists of 27 rights, of which 7 is non-derogable rights. Equality, human dignity, life, freedom and security of the person, slavery, servitude and forced labor, children, and especially arrested, detained and accused persons.
Okay, thank you, Portia and Donitha, for that breakdown of the Constitution, Chapter 2, Bill of Rights. And continuing with the Bill of Rights, I'm going to ask you now, please, to explain to us the limitations of the Bill of Rights.
Okay, so Chapter 2 of the Constitution, Sections 7 to 39, makes up what is referred to as the Bill of Rights. Each arm of the government, the executive, legislature and the courts, has its own chapter in the Constitution. The Constitution provides a general limitation clause at Section 36, which provides for all rights in the Bill of Rights to be limited in terms of law of general application, and the limitation must therefore be reasonable and justifiable in an open and democratic society based on human dignity, equality and freedom. Any limitation must therefore be reasonable and may only be made with good cause and be less restrictive.
And thank you, Chanel, for explaining Section 36 of the Bill of Rights. And with that, I'd like to go to ad break. And when we return, I have quite an interesting case that I'm going to pose to my guests. So stay tuned. And welcome back to our viewers to Constitution Today. If you're just joining us, we are focusing on the Constitution, in particular the Bill of Rights, which we covered just before the ad break. But before we broke, I mentioned that I have a case study that I found quite interesting that I'm going to pose to my guests and see how they handle the situation. Are you guys ready? Excuse me. Okay, here goes. Mr. Kuba was charged in the regional court for the theft of travelers' checks to the value of 70,000 rand. Mr. Kuba did not steal the checks, but received them at his pawnbroker shop shortly after a robbery. Mr. Kuba admitted that he received the stolen checks. Section 37 of the General Law Amendment Act 62 of 1955 allowed for Mr. Kuba to be convicted of robbery based on his admission. Excuse me. Mr. Kuba claimed that Section 37 is a violation of his constitutional right to a fair trial, which includes the right to be presumed innocent and to remain silent during plea proceedings or trial and not to testify during the trial. So, after hearing that case, ladies, what are your views on this scenario? Okay, so what do we know based on on this case? Chanel?
Okay, so based on what you just read now, Edgar, I don't just think that there's one incident, but two. One being the robbery, and secondly, Mr. Kuba receiving the stolen checks from his pawnbrokers.
From his pawnbroker, yeah. Okay. And the facts of
Okay, Edgar, I will say the facts is mentioned by Chanel, that the robber, that Mr. Kuba was a part of the robbery. And the second fact will be that Mr. Kuba did not know that the check was stolen.
Yes. He was not aware of
The
stolen checks.
Stolen checks, yes.
So, taking that into consideration, we can assume certain things.
Yeah, we can, because we've only been given a certain amount of information, so it leaves us with about 3 assumptions. The fact that Mr. Kuba went to the pawnbroker to get a loan, and instead of receiving cash, he however received the traveller's checks from the pawnbroker. And then we can also assume that the manner in which Mr. Kuba was cross-examined by the detectives, they could have used the phrasing as, were you in possession of the stolen checks? And he could have responded, yes, I was in possession of the checks. But then we can refer to the Bill of Rights under section 35 subsection.
Okay, so for our viewers that are not familiar with section 37, I'm just going to read what section 37 contains. It reads as follows: unlawful appropriation of the use of another's property. Any person who, without a bona fide claim of right and without the consent of the owner or the person having the control thereof, removes any property from the control of the owner or such person with intent to use it for his own purposes without the consent of the owner or any other person competent to give such consent. So Portia, what is the argument over now?
Well, Edgar, based on the facts that we have, and I think that Mr. Kuba could have been arrested or been under the impression that the traveller's checks belonged to the pawnbroker, and keeping in mind that he went to obtain a loan from the pawnbroker. Then also, can Mr. Kuba get arrested for admitting to receiving the checks? No, because again, he had no knowledge that the checks had been stolen.
Yeah, he was just telling the truth.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally understand that. So, the fair trial that we speak of, what does it include, Chanel?
Okay, so Edgar, based on the argument, I believe that Mr. Kuba's right to a fair trial, which includes the right to be presumed innocent, was violated. One being because Mr. Kuba was presumed guilty due to having the checks in his possession. That's why he feels his trial was not fair. Also, he has the right to explain himself and his situation, causing it to be a fair trial. And then lastly, I would say that Mr. Kuba was presumed guilty on admission and not presumed innocent, which is a violation of his rights.
Yeah, he was telling the truth and they just assumed he was guilty.
Yeah.
So, ladies, based on everything, can we conclude on finding possible solutions for Mr. Kuba's situation that he's in? What do you guys suggest? What do you recommend? Serena?
Well, my first recommendation is that ask the prosecutor for a copy of the question, the cross question by the detectives, just to get an idea how the questions was phrased when Mr. Kuba was first arrested.
Yeah, and his immediate responses to
exactly,
to things,
yes.
Yeah. And Portia, what other solutions are there?
Well, based on what Serena has mentioned, he can also call the pawnbroker as a witness because he, in actual fact, got the checks from the pawnbroker.
Yeah, substantial things. Donita?
Okay, Edgar, the original trial was in the regional court, but Mr. Kuba can now appeal to the High Court for retrial.
For retrial, okay. Do you have anything to add, Chanel?
Yes, I do. Mr. Kuba can provide the court with a receipt from the pawnbrokers to prove that the checks was given to him in the form of a loan.
Okay, so that concludes our show for tonight. I would like to thank Chanel, Donita, Portia and Serena for their participation in tonight's show. I hope all our viewers took something from tonight's show, and I hope you guys come back next week for our next show. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye. So what I learned in this assignment is that if you give people the chance to be themselves, or the opportunity to be themselves, and to express themselves, and to be natural in their abilities, I think that benefits the group and the unit and the project as a whole. I also think that in whatever project or you're involved in, I think there should be a factor of fun, because without that factor of fun, I don't think there can be that that level of success in it, or the ability to achieve the goal that you want to achieve. I also learned that in law you need to read, and you need to read and understand what is being said or what is being asked. You need to read things over and over and over. Words can be misleading, cases can be complicated, but if you read and understand, it's quite achievable to break it down. Something I didn't know is the Constitution as a whole. I find that very interesting, because it's important in everyday life to know your rights, know what's in the Constitution itself, and yeah, it's surprising that many people do not know what their rights are or what is contained in the Constitution.
Today, my name is Chanel France, and I'll be sharing my views on the law assignment that was done. Firstly, I've learned that one must know one's rights to avoid it from having violated unknowingly. Secondly, it is very important to know your legal and constitutional rights, as these rights are the foundation of our legal system and are put in place for the protection of every citizen in our country. Thank you.
I've learned that courts can be challenged when your rights have been violated. Something interesting that I've never known before. Never knew that the person can have access to all information the government or anyone else has if they need the information to protect themselves. How will you apply this knowledge every day? I can now apply or go to the Bill of Rights when I don't know what my rights are in a particular situation, and definitely make my friends and family members aware that they should make effort in knowing their rights, or the Constitution and the Bill of Rights in particular.
What have I learned? I've learned that as a South African citizen, you should know the Constitution, you should know the Bill of Rights, you should know when your rights are being infringed or when your rights are being violated. And in the event that your rights are being violated or infringed, that you have the right to a fair trial. What I did not know is that there are 7 non-derogable rights. Non-derogable meaning that in an event of a state of emergency, these rights cannot be suspended. What I will be doing going forward is to ensure that I am fully aware and educated on the Bill of Rights. That I ensure that whoever I come across and they don't know their rights, that I make mention of the rights to them, that I refer them to the Bill of Rights, so that in future, when their rights are being violated or infringed, they can refer to the Bill of Rights and always know that they have the right to a fair trial.
Good day. So, this is part 3. What I've learned about the assignment was that everyone is supposed to be seen as innocent until proven guilty, and that even though everything seems simple in black and white, there's more to every story, or there's basically a double side to another story. And then something interesting that I've never knew before was the Constitution of South Africa. I've never known the Constitution, and it's something that every South African citizen should know, but I've never known it until this assignment. Especially the Bill of Rights. I never knew what the rights was to a South African citizen until this assignment, and that for me, that was interesting. Because there's a lot of things that we as people in South Africa, we take it for granted, or we don't enforce our rights because we don't know what our rights are. So after this assignment, I kind of now understand my rights, and I know what the rights are. And then I will apply this to every day. Definitely now when I walk around, I'm not gonna walk around thinking, listen, I'm an attorney or I know anything legal. But it's nice to know what one's knowledge can do for them in the world out there, and this has broadened my mind. So that's my take on the assignment. Thank you.